This week, I've been talking to a couple of organisations about moving towards self-management. Although one of the first things I often say is expressing the dangers around using the term self-management. Because if you're working at a board level, it generates a particular response. People naturally say, where's the evidence that self-management works? What are the risks around self-management? What are the barriers? Can we see organisations that put self-management into practice? And typically that's a 6 to 8 month time frame before people are ready to say, let's try it. Or if you're a middle manager or a team leader, you might be thinking, well, if the organisation's moving to self-management, surely that means I won't have a job anymore. So either they get ready to leave, or they do things consciously or subconsciously that makes it less likely that any pilots or prototypes around self-management can work. So I've been looking at another approach that is around doing sprints and starting with senior folk in the organisation, because if people don't recognise that moving towards greater autonomy typically means some changes in the way that you work and the way you communicate, and even some personal development changes, it's unlikely that the promise of self-management or greater autonomy will ever be felt in an organisation. So I'm encouraging senior leaders to start sprints in their organisations, and this is work that I've been doing with Mark and with my own team, and start to make changes towards greater autonomy to specifically address what gets in the way of you doing your best work. So if I could give an example of one organisation in Australia, they're still determined to set up a prototype team and recruit to a new team in a different area of work, which I think is great. But alongside that, the senior leadership team is looking at doing a sprint. I often quote my colleague Michelle, who says it's team meetings, it's the tactical meetings where you really see self-management or greater autonomy in practice. So they're going to introduce that and get coaching around tactical meetings, sprints to change what's getting in the way of them as a leadership team doing their best work, and thinking about how they share what they're learning across the organisation, and then start to build from there. And it's what Jerry Smale would call a depth and a breadth approach. So the breadth is something happens across the organisation. People move using sprints to start changing what's getting in the way and embracing greater autonomy. And also a depth approach where organisations are going for prototype teams, that they're testing out in an in-depth and detailed way how to have greater autonomy at work. So I'll let you know how both these organisations go, but this really is my health warning around just talking about self-management.